Hello YouTube, welcome back. Welcome to 2018, first video in a while, and it's very retro. And by retro I mean retro pickups, both content and type. I haven't done a packages and pickups video in an absolute age, largely because I hadn't picked up any kind of retro content or really too much video game content that was worth showing. But I had a bit of a change of heart over the Christmas period, and I have some stuff. A few gifts, a few Kickstarters, whatever. So we'll kind of go through them. Starting off, probably with, I'm going to start with the Kickstarter stuff because I just want to clear some space here. So I completely forgot about this until I literally received it in the post. I got a SNES book. This game here. And it is the Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, a visual compendium by Bitmap Books. Now, I kickstarted that, but I had actually already kickstarted the prior book in this series, the NES Famicom Visual Guidebook, and I really enjoyed this. It's very well presented, very sturdy. So you get your clamshell thing, you get your 500 pages, and it's all, you know, a good look through. Largely it's a visual guide, so you see a lot of artwork, you know, of games and a little bit of blurb. This one was about the NES. Naturally, I mean, there's a whole series. The NES was book 4. SNES is book 5. There's more. There's Neo Geo. I'm going to stick to the systems I'm most interested in. So kind of the Nintendo Sega ones when they do those. But if you're interested in a system, I would definitely recommend picking up these type of books. And the most recent one I picked up, as I said, it was a surprise Kickstarter. You may notice I've got a few funny things in the cover here. I've left them on purpose. This little thing here was actually corner protector, and all the corners had them. I just left one on to show because it was actually really well packaged inside, which is just as well because the outside packaging was a bit damaged. And for these type of books, it's really important because they are kind of collectible. They're physical commodities that you really want to kind of see and collect and look through, and it, because it's a visual item, you want it in good condition, so it makes sense for the packaging to be done well. And that makes sense. So you got this, a few other little bits. I can't remember what this was meant to be. Scanline thing. A little kind of a thank you from Sam Dyer, who's the guy behind the company. So it's actually a nice little note, especially because these ones, the SNES one was the first time ever he was late delivering on his Kickstarter. And I'll talk about that in a bit, just kind of showing off this stuff. So here's a little advert for the Plock comic book by the... what's the name of the guys? Can't remember. British developers anyway. Never into Plot myself, but there you go. If you're into Z3 and do you like Plot, there's a comic book. But the main event then is the actual book itself. So I actually haven't opened it. I will do at some point. There's not much point kind of flicking through. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have done that. But yeah, the Kickstarter. Normally I don't back too many Kickstarters unless they're pretty much a short thing, because even though Kickstarter is an investment platform, people treat it like a pre-ordering platform, and I don't think as an investment platform you're necessarily getting enough return for an investment where you have incredible risk. So I really only get it when you're pretty much doing a guarantee delivery. And Sam and his team, or well himself largely, they pretty much have. They've always delivered and always delivered on time. The SNES one was ever so slightly late. It was meant to be out before Christmas. It was just after Christmas. It was no big deal to me. I can understand why a few people were upset. And now that I'm thinking, I don't know where I've left it. I got some prints, some SNES image photograph prints with this. It was another just nice little Kickstarter add-on. But as a whole, these are great, as they call them, kind of coffee table books, where you can actually just sit there and you flick through them and you read a few pages at a time and leave them aside. That's actually why I haven't dug into it and opened it yet, because I had this the NES one for an age. And I just kept picking it up every once in a while and reading it. I only finished it a month or so ago, but I did enjoy it, and I definitely would buy more should he make more in like the N64 maybe, or Master System or whatever. Those systems that I'd be interested in, I would definitely be interested to pick up more. So anyway, that was the SNES and NES, I guess, guidebooks. Now I got a little more space. That was taking up a lot of weight on the chair. So I got a few items over Christmas, not too much, most stuff was non-gaming stuff. But a couple of presents from my sister was a little toad figure. So, I don't know, he's not a amiibo or anything, just a regular kind of vinyl figure. He's nice enough. And then we have some fridging magnets. Pac-Man. Namco obviously liking to get... it kind of makes sense. You could put this on your fridge. Doesn't it make sense? Pac-Man likes to eat. So, a couple of random stuff. Now on to the kind of the main few bits that I actually got recently. And as I said, I was getting back into the retro gaming stuff and buying a few retro gaming items. And I tweeted about it. Literally the first time I went on eBay in 2 years or more to buy a gaming item. It's just not something I've looked into. And I mean, prices kind of went crazy, and it's still true. The shipping to Ireland is absolutely crazy. I mean, a lot of people now look for £10 sterling just to ship one game. I was like, really? That's absolutely ludicrous. I wanted one small item. I wanted a memory card for the N64. And finding someone who would ship was tricky. And then finding someone who wasn't charging more for shipping than for the memory card was also very tricky. But eventually I did. And literally, as I said, this is all it was. So it was the best offer, like a £5 for a memory card. And the reason why I wanted this particular memory card, I had N64 memory cards, but the N64 memory cards are kind of crap. They have a battery in them, which on the face of it seems good. Replace the battery when it dies, you can keep using it. But not only are the batteries prone to failure, wiping your saves, but in most memory cards for the N64, they're not replaceable without desoldering a battery, which I could do, but I'm not particularly comfortable doing that. I mean, desoldering on a battery, not a great idea, in my opinion. So these Joytech ones not only have the more memory storage, but the actual, the top here will come out, and you can actually, it's like a tray, so you can actually change the battery when it's dying. So I needed that because a couple of my N64 games, and I was actually surprised by this, they don't have battery backup built in. I'm so used to playing things like Mario, Zelda, etc., the Nintendo stuff or the Rare stuff, which always had battery backup on the cartridge. So, you know, I didn't really need it too much. But I had a few games back in the day, and I picked up the sequel to one of them. So I picked up, locally, I picked this up in CEX, ISS 2000. Football game, not the most exciting for many. But it's by Konami, and Konami didn't include battery backup, and I don't think in any of their N64 games. Castlevania didn't do it, Mystical Ninja didn't do it, and certainly I had ISS 98, it didn't do it, and ISS 2000 doesn't do it. So I needed a memory card, and my old ones were all corrupt, basically, and so I said, oh well, gotta get this to go with this. As I said, I loved ISS 98. I wanted to try out, for most people this is just, another soccer game, so to speak. Not that exciting, but it's quite unusual in that it has a pseudo RPG mode, very rare, and kind of a precursor to things like the journey mode they have on EA's FIFA these days. A little more Japanese oriented with the way it's set up, and it's not bad. It was also played a good game of football for the time frame. Now I went with a loose card because for a football game, it's relatively pricey. You're easily talking, it seems, £30 to get it. And I do mean pounds and not euros on that one, to get a boxed copy. Maybe you could get a bit cheaper on auctions or whatever, probably if you're patient, but I don't like paying more than like a £5 for a football game. Just usually the price collapses so much that you pick them up for peanuts. I've spent, myself and Tony, we spent ages playing football games, but we just never like to pay more than a £5 for them, so that's why I went with this one loose. And I said, okay, well, CEX have it, well, I'll just pick it up. So there we go. That was an N64 game and a memory card. Now, I was in very much an N64 mood over Christmas. I played a whole bunch of games, and I might do a video talking about some of those separate to this one. Because this one I'm just going to focus more straight, kind of get back in on the good old package and pickup section. But it made me want to try out a few more games that I had either enjoyed back in the day or really kind of, and I didn't have in the collection, or just wanted to try out. So the first one of those was Pilotwings 64, and this is all complete, although it is the European version and not the UK version, which for the game perspective makes no difference. It's exactly the same game, but it does mean from the box perspective and the manual perspective, it's actually in French and German. Not too big a deal because the game's in English. But I played Pilotwings back in the day, at my friend's house. They had it, I didn't, and I really enjoyed it. It's really kind of a chill game. It seems like one of those experiences where there's not much to it. You have a few planes, a few simple islands, just like, and the challenges are all essentially go here and land the plane. You know, take a picture of this and land the plane. Fly through this ring and land the plane. So, well, they're not even planes. What am I saying planes? It's you've got the paraglider, the gyrocopter, and the rocket bell, so kind of like a jetpack thing, as the main vehicles, and then you have the skydiving, cannonball, and hopper as the sub vehicles or the special vehicles. But I've always enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it back in the day. I played it and got all gold medals. I spent all weekend last weekend playing it. I got 20 out of 21 gold medals. I left the last kind of glider one because it just was taking a fair bit of time, and I was like, no, I've done enough. I got a few perfects as well, and it's a type of game that I could easily go back to time and time again. And even though the graphics obviously are very primitive by today's standards, because they actually don't try and push the system too far, they end up being solid. So you can still appreciate them. You can still look and say, oh, I know what that is meant to be. It's very simple and quite primitive, but it kind of gets the job done. The fogging is kept to a minimum. The performance is quite good. And as you start to fly the various vehicles, you kind of forget all about that and just start to take in the atmosphere and the kind of feeling of flight and trying to control your vehicle. And that still holds up really well. Now, obviously, when this came out back in the day, along with Mario 64 as a launch title, this was like a massive leap. Being able to actually fly around kind of a very much realized 3D environment. When you consider what games had been up to that point, only a year or two prior, you're talking about Star Fox with like its 7 triangles to make up everything. This was just night and day, and you know, it completely blew people away. It got a little overshadowed because Mario 64 was such a big game and, you know, kind of groundbreaking in its kind of action adventuring elements within a 3D world. But Pilot Wings was also quite a, you know, groundbreaking game for its time and still holds up very well in the play department. A little clunky in a few of the camera controls, but other than that, really good game, and I would highly recommend it. Now finally, a game that I'm actually in the middle playing, so I'm kind of withholding a final judgment on this one, is, I don't know, it feels like I've left the cartridge somewhere else, is Body Harvest by DMA Design. Yeah, this is too light, I must have the cartridge must be in the N64, which shows I was playing it. So, manual and all, and what's weird is, as a third-party box, and I've seen it in a few of the third-party ones, they went with this kind of plasticky tray instead of the cardboard tray that Nintendo went with. Oh, and I also have a registration sheet. Free multi-prize draw to win €100 worth of Gremlin goodies. I wonder if this is still valid. I should think not. 1998 Gremlin. No purchase necessary. Terms and conditions apply. Should we send it off and see what happens? I don't know if Gremlin are even still around today. They're probably not. So, but anyway, yeah, it's strange. I'm not too sure why they went with the plastic instead of the cardboard. I would have thought that increased the cost, but maybe they felt that was worth it. So, Body Harvest, DMA Design. It thankfully actually has memory on the card, so you don't need memory card for this one. It's an interesting game. It was meant to originally be a launch game for the system. And it was going to be published by Nintendo as well. But Nintendo they weren't really happy with how development was progressing. Clearly, it ran years late. And by the time it came out, in some ways it was very much a relic. The graphics, and I've only been in the first kind of basically the game is about alien invasion. These kind of ant-like creatures are coming over to take Earth, and they arrive on Earth every 25 years. So you kind of travel in time, starting in 1916 and moving forward. And I'm in Greece, which is the first one, and it's sort of sandboxy. You have multiple sectors or stages in it, but you can kind of end up going between them. And so I might think I'm on the third sector of the first time zone, so still very early in the game. But it is primitive looking. Like it almost feel like in some ways it looks more primitive than say Pilot Wings. And Pilot Wings was a launch title. It looks less defined. There's a lot more fogging. Things are blurrier. But it's also, its scope is quite large. It tries to do the GTA style of sandbox environment very early on. And I bring up GTA very specifically because, of course, DMA Design went on to make GTA 3. I mean, that's who Rockstar are. So there's a lot of that kind of DNA in this game. Now, it's not the same game, and it's very much, it's almost like finding a fossil of an earlier ancestor to what they would do on the kind of current Grand Theft Auto series. But you can, like, I mean, in this one, you kind of go and hijack, for want of a better term, or man different vehicles which have different attributes. You drive around the world, you shoot these aliens. You can go on foot, but the on foot, which was partially inspired, I believe, by Nintendo's request to have more adventuring or more RPG elements, they seem a little weird. So you'll get out of your vehicle, you go on foot to go into a house, let's say lower a drawbridge, and then you'll go on again. Bit strange. Or you'll go looking for a key, and I found the map a bit confusing. So as I said, I've only played a few hours of this. Jury's definitely still out, too early to tell. But I remember reading it back in N64 magazine and wanted to try it out, but it was never one I wanted to kind of pay 50 quid for. It was like, no, there's other games. But, I've never mentioned with Pilot Wings. Got Pilot Wings and this one from a local advertisement listing. It was actually, I think, the guy who runs Retro Gaming Ireland.ie or retrogaming.ie. So it's locally sourced again. And it was they're in good condition, good enough for me. I'm not massively picky that they have to be mint. Nice, that's what I want. As you see, I pick up ISS loose. So I want to try this out anyway, especially because it had that interesting development story. You could do a whole video on, delving into that, and that's not the purpose of this. But it's definitely, I think, off its time, and perhaps even for its time, in some ways, it may have been out of date. The fugging, as I said, it's crazy, but it's interesting, and perhaps it may be worth tracking down. I don't know just yet, but anyway, they're my package and pickups. As I said, retro gaming pickups in 2018. It's all very strange. I'm very much in an N64 vibe right now, playing it quite a bit, playing old games, new games, and so on. So that's kind of got me back into it a bit, and I've been playing a few other games, Xbox, Master System, and whatnot as well, so definitely been feeling it a lot more in terms of retro. But anyway, this video has now gone on way too long, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again in another video shortly. Bye for now.